guys to have something you can go back and watch on YouTube later on. Alright, so when I go to create a brand new part, I'm just going to click on my little 3D house button in the top right hand corner here, and we're going to click on the start button. And you have 3 reference planes that you can use to start building from. Alright, so if you look at the drawing for the case, again, we want to create that profile from kind of like the top view. So as I start to sketch, it would make sense to put this on. This is going to be my XZ plane. Alright, so the XZ plane is really the plane where I'm looking straight down on my project from the top view. Alright, and that ends up being the answer to the very first question there. So, of all of the planes, which plane should be selected if you're going to build the first sketch on the top view? And that ends up being the XZ plane. So we can write that up here for you. XZ. Alright, you really have 3 different origin planes. And it's just the origin plane that exists between the crosshairs of the XZ plane. Alright? XZ. Yep, XZ.
Alright, got it.
Okay, got it? Whoa. Too far. Okay, here we go. So we want to be on the XZ plane. Now, there's a bunch of different ways you can build this part. Okay, I'm going to show you. We'll go 3 extrusions. It can be done in 2. Certainly possible to be done in two extrusions. We're going to go with the 3. All right. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build out a rectangle that's going to represent the actual shape of the case. All right. Now, when you're working in Inventor, the best way to draw a rectangle, all right, is really using my rectangle tool. And you have a couple different rectangle tools in here. The first one, like the one that you use by default, is a 2-point rectangle. If you hover your cursor on it, it says creates a rectangle using 2 points for the diagonal corner. So this is like the way you measure a computer monitor. You measure it on the diagonal. Okay, point 1 to point 2. Okay, so it's the 2 diagonal corners. So if we go ahead and click on that, the first click is going to be at the origin. And then the second one, I can go ahead and I can kind of move out as far as I need to. Alright, now, again, like you can just go ahead and get it close to how big it's going to be. Alright, and then put dimensions on afterwards. So if we just put 1 dimension on for the height, and we put 1 dimension on for the width, all I have to do is kind of key in those values. So I'm going to bounce back over really fast, take a look at the dimensions. I see that it's supposed to be 6 inches tall. So we'll just change this value to 6. Over here, it doesn't really tell me exactly how wide the entire case is, but it does tell me from the right side to the right side of the handle, 3 inches, that the handle is 3 inches, and then I suppose I have to infer that this is going to be symmetrical on both sides. So we'll just assume that this is going to end up being 9 inches across the entire dimension for the case. Alright, but that gives me a rectangle that I can use to build my case from. Okay? You don't have to do anything right now, you just have to watch. Okay? You just have to watch. I'm going to put it on YouTube and you can go back through nice and slow. Alright? So I'm going to hit the Finish Sketch button. And when I do that, notice how your sketch was drawn. Remember, we put it on that XZ plane. So remember, that's like on the, looking good from the top view. That's perfect. Okay? So from here, couple dimensions that are missing again. Like we're kind of missing the thickness of this entire piece. Okay? So we're going to assume a couple things. I'm going to tell you guys right now. Okay? I'm going to assume that the thickness of the entire case is going to be 1 inch total, which means halfway in, right, is like a half of an inch. Okay, and that's where like our parts are going to sit on this little bottom bed. And then the little rim around the outside, that can be a half an inch tall too. Okay, and if that's a half an inch, then we know like our little handle part is about a half an inch as well. So what we'll do is we'll only build half of the case right now. So we're going to click on the extrude tool. Alright, we'll just key in that value of 0.5 for a half of an inch. Alright, and I basically just made half of my case. Alright, now one of the really cool things about Inventor, alright, you don't have to build everything in one foul swoop. You're kind of adding things on. You're adding these different 3D components onto each other. So we can now create another sketch based on any of the surfaces that we've already drawn. Okay? So if I know I want to build like a little outer rim here around the outside of my case, like where all the parts are going to fit in there, I really just have to click on my sketch option, start 2D sketch, and then I have to just select what surface I want to draw on. And that's going to be my next sketch plane. So check this out. If we just kind of pick the top view here, or the top of that box, now I'm making a new sketch, and I'm right on top of the part that I was just on. So really what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on my 2D rectangle tool one more time, and we'll click in the bottom left-hand corner, and we'll just draw another rectangle and just kind of trace out the original shape. Okay? And then what we'll do is we'll put another rectangle just on the inside of it. Okay, so this is going to kind of form just the rim where all those pieces are going to sit. And we're going to ignore the handle for right now. Alright, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a dimension on from the inside of that little rim to the outside. And we'll just make that a half of an inch. So I'll just put in 0.5. And then we're going to do the same thing 3 more times. So we can put in that same value, 0.5, right around the outside. So you just go ahead and put that in. Now we'll take a look at everything in 3D. We'll hit the little green check mark. You're going to use the extrude tool. Now check this out. Look, you could pick either of these two profiles to continue doing 3D features with. Alright, make sure you pick, for this function, you want to pick just that little rim part where we're going to extrude. Okay, so we're only picking that up. And we're going to pick it up a half of an inch. It actually does say extrusion depth at 0.5. So that does make a little bit of sense there. Okay, so that's one way to use just extrusions where we're making material to put that together. Now, what's the one feature? Again, you're not doing stuff with me right now. You're just watching, right? So, what's the one thing we're missing? It's the handle. Yep, good. So now, we're going to click on Start New 2D Sketch, and I'm actually going to put it this time, I think, maybe right up here. Alright, right up on the top. Alright, and all I have to do at this point is just kind of put some lines down that are going to represent the shape of that handle. And if I get those lines pretty close, we can go back and we can add dimensions. One thing I do want you to pay attention to, like you do have to actually draw, right in here in this little corner, you do have to draw a line. Okay, so again, like even though it looks like that edge is there as 3D geometry, it wasn't there as 2D geometry. And the 2D geometry is going to be what's used to draw or to create the profile. Alright, and at that point we just have to put some dimensions on it. So from the edge to this line, that's going to be 3 inches. The entire distance all the way across is going to also be 3 inches. We know it's going to be 2 inches across the interior of the handle. We know it's going to be, let's see, 1 inch that we're dividing into 2 there, I suppose. Alright, so we'll make sure that that's 0.5. That is effectively turns the other side to 0.5. And then we have another ½ inch dimension here. And we have a 1 inch dimension over on the side. Okay? So when you're placing those dimensions in, if you're picking like 2 different lines, here's 1 click, 2 clicks, and then the third one just places it where it's going to go. I'm going to put this on YouTube and you can watch it. Alright, so just stay with me for a second. Now, the one thing people were having a little bit of trouble with the other day, alright, to extrude, when I'm finished, I have like this little handle function. You can extrude things in different directions. Alright, so right now if I extrude that, the handle's not actually going to be on top of my entire project piece. Right, but what you can do is you have a couple different options here for the direction that you extrude. So if we just kind of flip that, alright, notice that you can extrude it but push it back down the other direction. Mr. Kapler. Yes, he did. Thank you. Okay, so that works pretty good for right now. For your case, you can make it out of any material appearance you want. All right. Do double check and make sure that you have all those dimensions on there. Good. It says create a new sketch and add the handle using dimensions as shown. We did all that stuff. All right. So really, that's all you guys have to do. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to post that up on YouTube. That